Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Zach.
Hey, everybody, this is Sawyer. Welcome to the Come On podcast. We're really glad you're joining us.
So come on and join us in the trenches.
Come on.
Golly, dude, I just took over the show right there, didn't
You were like,
I? I apologize for pushing your button.
I saw the cover on Spotify for our last episode, and it's like your face, and then the screen splits, and it's like your face again, and like you could see my legs in the background. And I was like, oh,
I'm paying extra for that.
gotcha. Like blur out my face.
Yeah. This is the Come On podcast where we bring you Zach.
And beep.
Yeah. I wish I knew how to work that thing. I'd be able to do that.
We've never used that. We do need to use it. I think you can also like put in sounds,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
This
way
is the
over
one.
my head.
Nope, that's not it. I apologize for
That
that.
is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing us.
We need to tell more jokes. Like you started this whole thing off with a joke.
Okay.
You got one?
This is a lot of pressure.
Oh.
Okay. Whew. Why? Okay, I got one. Why? Okay, let me get my grammar correct. Because my wife may watch this. Why doesn't a T-Rex clap?
I don't know.
Because they're dead.
Oh. Oh boy.
I love that joke.
Yeah. We have the other one, but I don't want to work this thing yet. That is funny. That's awesome. Dude, nice outfit this week.
Thanks. Do I look like a golfer? Kirsten
Yeah.
said I look like a frat boy.
frat boy.
I was like, oh man.
No, dude, you look like a golfer that would hit no less or no more, I should say, than like a 120 probably on 9.
Yeah. That's like
That's really, really bad.
wow.
No, honestly, I'd probably like breaking a 100 when you first start is like the goal. If you can get under 100 on 18 when you first start, you're doing pretty good because you can shoot 18 shots in one hole if you play right. Good luck.
Okay.
You're not gonna play now, are you?
I've heard I do get pretty competitive. Now if I'm out there by myself and I'm just like my goal is to like get better, get 1% better that time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But like if I'm playing with someone else and they're like killing it, I'll get so discouraged and I'll get so mad.
Why can't I just hit it straight down the thing?
Like just throw the ball out there.
I was like, we played that golf tournament. I would smoke a drive, and I hadn't played in years. I would smoke it or feel like I did. And he would go a long ways. And then Tyler, that was playing with us, I think he plays pretty regular.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be like, just outdo me by like 20 feet, And
Yeah.
it's like, it don't matter.
Isn't that
but
the
it's
guy
just
you
that
fought in the
feeling.
parking lot whenever y'all left? That's the You took your clubs at him?
Yeah, I showed him.
That's funny.
Let me see. Oh, you can keep going. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up. Just texting while we do
You
a
literally
podcast.
said, hey, sorry, we should be more funny. And
I
then I'm
know,
trying to
and
be
then
funny, and then you interrupt me.
So we are all the way on episode 13.
That is crazy.
And we will admit now that we skipped labeling episode 10. So it's gonna go from episode 9 to episode 11 and then 12, 13. So we're on 13.
Well, we didn't want to, because like once you break double digits, it's bad luck to break double digits in podcast. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Like when in the podcast, it's a podcasting,
Yeah, you got to be in this world.
It's
to
it's
know
a
it.
big money. Mr. Podcast wouldn't appreciate.
I did see, interesting enough, that the podcast, news podcast, they're calling it, brought in like 7.3 billion.
And
Did
we
you
have,
get any of that?
I was about to say,
Because I didn't get any
I
of
got like
that.
10% or something like that. Not what I expected.
Oh,
but,
okay. Yeah. Margins were down.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
you know, numbers weren't right, but it wasn't horrible.
That is good. Oh boy, that's crazy though to think about. Like that's the new radio or TV. Really, a lot of people don't even watch. I don't even watch TV.
I don't.
I
Like,
mean,
I'm ready. I'm wondering when the day's gonna come when they don't have radios in cars anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't. When I get into a car with somebody and they're listening to, which I appreciate. Like our Christian news station is 88.7 The Cross,
yeah,
and when I get into a car and someone's listening to that, I'm like, what century are you in? Which I appreciate what they're doing. It's a really,
yeah.
really good ministry, but I'm like, I haven't heard a news channel or, you know, a radio channel in a while.
I mean, you have CarPlay like in
Yeah.
most cars, and so you can plug up your phone, you
Yeah.
know, and so or Bluetooth it. I'm still going old school, plug it up,
Yeah.
but like you just don't. It's just not like you just listen to podcast. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
Spotify is like the thing for me anyway. I know a lot of people like Apple or whatever you like, but
Mm-hmm.
like I have the YouTube. I think it's called Premium or something where you can turn your phone off and it'll still play. Big money.
That's crazy.
But-
That is a cool app.
Yeah, and like I'll just listen to either a YouTube video, just listen to it, or a
Mhm.
podcast or whatever. So
On YouTube Premium,
That's
you can turn off your phone
Yeah.
and listen. Wow.
literally the only reason I got it. Well, it may take away ads too, I believe.
Okay. And so it's basically like Spotify.
Yeah,
I
at
got
that
you.
point.
I
Yeah.
got you.
So I've listened to a lot of YouTube videos, and just going down the road, you know, instead of
That's cool.
so.
I like podcasts. I listen to all kinds of podcasts, but I literally didn't know that the Pope died until I heard it on a
Oh, yeah.
podcast. Like I don't have social media, so that used to be how I got all my stuff, but like now I just don't. And I heard it on a podcast. I was like, I texted Kirsten. I was like, the freaking Pope died. Sorry, I shouldn't say freaking.
Well, I didn't even know who. This is probably bad, isn't it? But I didn't even know what the Pope really was. You know, you hear about it, and wow,
Yeah.
because maybe that is a big deal. I guess to a lot, obviously to a lot of people, it's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah.
So
It's yeah, but
I think that I don't understand that.
there's a lot of depth to it.
Yeah,
It's
so
pretty.
it's-
It's pretty cool it'd be pretty cool to dive into and learn. There's a lot of history to it. There's a lot of depth to it. It didn't affect my life that much. I'm sad that the Pope died, but you know, but it's cool to learn that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be neat to learn about. There's a lot of things, man. I've been wanting to dive into and learn more, and just get deeper into that.
You were talking about something cool the other day, how you want to learn like about like
the Romans.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to not necessarily Jesus's crucifixion and like the scourging and stuff like that, but learning how they did it. Which I mean, I know they did the same thing to him. Or
Yeah.
From what I've learned, they never would scourge somebody and crucify.
Mm.
I think that's what I learned was like scourging was like you brought them basically almost to death, but you didn't do it.
I did that to Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, there's just a lot of stuff I want to learn, and
Yeah.
that's the good thing is we've got the core message down, which is the gospel.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and now it's just like we were just talking about off the mic. There is just literally it's not to learn or gain some knowledge so we can look smart in front of people. I just want to know more
Yeah.
about God and more about Jesus and those and about the times when Jesus was here on earth, like
Yeah.
what was really happening.
Yeah. What was society? What was the economy like? What drove people? What was their routine like? Why did they do what they did? I
Yeah.
love learning that kind of stuff, and it really ties a lot. Like even just talking about like the history of like what fishing meant in that day.
Yeah.
And then like to be able to apply that to Peter, you know, that was his livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that was everything. And The Chosen does a really good job about that. That TV, the Chosen, the TV show, they do a really good job of kind of putting a little bit of perspective into that. But I just love learning, like being able to learn like what was happening in that time, why things were happening that way, and then being able to apply it to. It makes it one, it makes it make sense, and two, it makes it that much. This is bad grammar. That much more, you know, like wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy's name. Maybe it's like Charlie Kirk or something.
Okay.
I don't know his name. He goes around and like what is that called? He debates people on Christianity, apologetics or whatever. And
That tall guy, he goes on like campuses and stuff.
yeah, it's a younger guy though.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I don't remember his name, but regardless, he was at a campus and somebody asked him, just was questioning him on it, and he said, what made it real was he went to Israel. And when he went to Israel, the stories he had been reading in the Bible come to life. It was real life right in front of him. It wasn't just some little story his mom told him before he went to bed anymore. It was real life. He's like, I cried where Jesus cried. I walked where we know that the disciples were, the areas, like just.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really cool experience to go see that.
My dad went. He experienced that too.
Man, that's cool.
He said he did his quiet time in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Wow.
And he was like, "This is crazy."
Yeah, that's so cool because it is. We get a little detached from it in a way.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're not a Christian, you're completely away from it. You know, and I think that's part of the reason. It just seems like another one of those. Just another story.
Yeah. Especially like here in America, like we can go to McDonald's and have our quiet time.
Yeah.
And whereas back then he would go into a mountain, which is cool. Like, I mean, that's just how it is now. But, you be able to go there and see it and experience it. And you're like, man, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. What's the topic for today, sir?
Dude, we're going to talk about living authentically.
I love this topic. I love it and I hate it because I'm really bad at it.
Yeah, I know, right?
But
But that's being authentic is being open to, like, dude, I mess up.
Oh, so I'm really good at it.
You're really good at that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But it's just embracing your true self, being authentic in everything that you do.
You want to kick us off?
Yeah. I just lost my notes. I did take a few notes here beforehand, and I have the definition.
Whoa.
I always like to do that because I know there's been some times where I think something means something, and it's kind of maybe close, but anyway, definition of being authentic means to live in accordance to one's, or excuse me, let me start over there. Being authentic means living in accordance with one's true self, values, and beliefs, regardless of external pressures or expectations. It's about being genuine and sincere, not pretending to be someone else. Authenticity involves aligning actions with one's core identity and expressing oneself honestly and openly. That's a hard standard to live up to.
Yeah.
I like the biggest part is regardless of external pressures and expectations. So we live that out, thinking of just a Christian life as, having that joy and like we were talking about, filled with the fruit of the Spirit. And you go to so many places, dude, and they're just like, it's external pressures to do all kinds of things. You could boil that down from obviously you could go up to drugs and other things, or you could go down to just simply, I wish I had the verse pulled up where Paul says, do not let anything unwholesome come from your mouth.
Yeah.
You could just get around somebody, perverse talk, just cutting up like, the jokes that you're so used to doing. You could boil it down to that. And I think living authentically is you get in those situations and you you just stand your ground, and,
Yeah.
and not that you're mean to those other people. You just don't really participate in it.
Sure.
Maybe even let them know, just
Yeah.
man, I just, just not, it's just not funny to me, or
Right.
whatever.
And not, and yeah, like you said, not being a jerk,
Yeah.
which I don't think that's the goal at all. Like whenever Jesus, he would, like the crowds would be kind of overwhelming him a little bit, and he would have to retreat, like he'd have to leave. And there were times where people were saying like, "Hey, like can you come and heal us? Like, can you come and talk to us?" And he'd be like, "No, I need to go be with my Father." And like not, and I don't think Jesus was being a jerk in that moment. Like he's Jesus, and so our like from our point of view, that'd be like, "Ooh, ouch,"
Yeah.
but excuse me,
Like,
but,
oh, he don't have time for me.
Yeah,
Type
and
attitude.
that's not it. Like he was fully human. He got overwhelmed. I'm sure he had those moments, like whenever in the garden, whenever he was praying before he was about to be crucified, he was sweating blood. Like he was so stressed out
Yeah.
and anxious that he was sweating blood, and he left the disciples. He said, like he told the disciples, like, sit over here, let me leave me alone for a little bit.
Yep.
And he had to go pray. He had to go and talk to God, and you see his like his true nature come out in the Gospels, where like there were times where he got frustrated. He flipped tables. He chased people with whips. He chewed out some Pharisees. He did. There was a lot of emotion coming from Jesus.
He didn't ever. Yeah, he was never like he just doing what he knew he had to do.
Yeah,
Especially like you say in the Pharisees, when they would say things and he would correct them. They wouldn't even say it. They would just be thinking it.
Oh, that is so funny. Where like it'd be like the verse where like Jesus knew what they were thinking, so and then he said something. That's so funny. But like and I don't think Jesus was being petty in that moment, but he was sincere. Jesus was an emotional person, and he showed human emotions. He never sinned, but he didn't suppress it. And so, not saying like, oh, every emotion you feel, you should feel it and express it, but like Jesus was fully human, and it's okay to feel emotions. It's okay to feel certain ways. Don't stick on a mask and try to suppress everything that you feel. My first verse, I have a few verses here, but first one is James 5:12. You might know it. But above all, my brothers, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or by any other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. And when I think of that verse, I think like, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Being authentic, living true to yourself. If you say something, and I love how Brian said this, like this is his goal, like for him as a person, like he wants to be true to himself. Like whenever he's very careful about whenever he's talking to customers, and like he's very selective about what he tells them that he's going to do, because he says, if I tell them I'm going to do something,
you got to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like I want, and I remember whenever he said that, it was kind of like a gut punch. I was like, dang, like I want to be like that. That's cool. That's a really good quality to have. Like I want someone like that in my life,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where, and I think that's what that verse is kind of pointing to. Like, if you say it, do it. Be a man. That's what I think about whenever I be a man. Like, or just be a decent human. And I don't know. You just kind of you take it how you want it, but that's what I think of whenever I picture that verse.
Yeah, I like that too. That is that's integrity with others, and integrity, like I don't know what you call that, internal integrity, like just
doing the right thing.
You just know, like, how good does that feel when you say I am or am not going to do this. And then nobody else would ever know if you did or didn't do that, and you
Yep.
don't do it, or you do, whichever way you're going with it.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah. And it like it goes back to another episode we did, like those small compromises. If you say you're going to do something, or if you the right thing to do, and then you fail to do it, or you do it, either one of those options, that's adding to your character, whichever way.
Uh-huh.
And if you know the right, like if I know, okay, I'm up in this attic, I'm going to talk about electrical work. I'm up in this attic, and it's hot, sweating. I got all this insulation on me. I'm in a tight spot. I'm uncomfortable. I'm sore from laying on these joists. And I made up this junction box in the attic, and all the wires are made up, but I still have to put the cover on, and I can't find one of the screws to the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, screw it. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm going to get out of the attic. Nobody will come up here and check. But it's the right thing to do is to get another screw, get back up in the attic, and put the cover on. And like you
get like mad at yourself a little bit. Like, gosh, why do I have to do that?
Yeah, like, please don't be a Christian right now. Like,
it's so hot.
Yeah, but it's just like one of those things. You got to like do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just feels good to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you don't, you obviously we're human. We're gonna mess up. So when you do mess up, and you let's just say you said I'm not gonna drink caffeine, and then you slip up and do it. Like,
yeah.
You don't want to necessarily beat yourself up, but having the awareness to kind of get on to yourself in a way, you know, and be like, self-talk, I guess, whatever you want to say, being convicted or whatever you are in that moment, just again, not beating yourself up, but being aware, like, man, I messed up, but I'm gonna do better, and not beating yourself up when you mess up. We're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
So,
and
next time, put that screw in there.
I've done a lot of jobs like that where, I just want to, because nobody's gonna know. Mm-hmm. Who's gonna know? I would know. Yeah, I would leave that. And I've done those things where, like, you're my boss, so I'm kind of, but like, but like, put the wrong screw in. Where like, instead of putting the right screw in, like, because I couldn't get that, I couldn't get that screw in, like the screw that's supposed to go in there, I couldn't get to fit, so I just sunk a self tapper in there, knowing you know what I mean. And I've done it before.
Yeah.
And it like, when I leave that job, I'm just like, I'm not happy about it.
It's like you didn't do 100%
exactly
or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And not that like I ruined the integrity of something, or like the thing that I was working on isn't going to work correctly, or it's going to burn their house down. Like, never anything like that. And that, like, even right now, me talking about that, like, I'm kind of compromising, but
it's just the small, you're going back to the small compromises. Yeah. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
But it matters to you, because it's just, I think they call that, that it's a little different, but moral authority, I believe. And it was in a book that I read. Wow, I can't remember book names, but he said that he had a youth pastor, like, really looked up to him, or maybe it was like a young adult pastor, I can't remember, and really looked up to him. And they went on it was a youth thing, and they went to this place, and it had like you could go, like, take your tube and go slide down this thing, and they closed the gate at 6:00, and the staff told them, they had to leave or whatever, it was closed. The youth pastor was like, well, let's just go eat supper, and we'll go back, and we'll just go around the gate, and we'll go do it when nobody's there. He quit going to that youth pastor.
Yeah.
Now, he was like 14 or 15, and he's, 30 or 40. I don't know how old he is now. And he's like, looking back, I probably went a little overboard, but he's like, he lost his moral authority at that point, because it was just the fact that he was willing to just
break the rules.
And lie. Like
Yep.
it just didn't sit well with him.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the same thing. I
Yep.
mean,
I've heard my pop used to tell me, if someone will lie to you, they will kill you. And I would be like 9 years old, like, oh my God.
wow.
But I mean, it's kind of honest, you know. I mean, that's like, you know, I'm not trying to go back to the small compromises thing, but like the small compromises. But it all goes back to, you know, you want to be a person of integrity. And that's kind of my word for this year. Is I want to be a person of integrity. I want when people think of me, and not to like pat myself on the back or be like a better person. I want to be a better person, but not for my benefit. I want to be able to point it to the gospel and to what Jesus has done in my life. But I want, when people think of me, that I want them to be able to be like, I can count on Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can go to him, and he can make me smile, or I can talk to him and I can confide in him, or I can get him to come do some work in my house and it's done right. You know, whatever that is. He's going to be honest with me. You know, I want to be that person where people can trust. You know, and I can think of people in my life right now that, like, I don't really want to go to them. You know, I don't really want to ask them, like, hey, do I look fat in this? Because I know they're not going to tell me.
Yeah.
Whereas I can ask my wife, and not that Kirsten's like mean or anything, but she's not going to lie to me.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I'll ask her, like, hey, does this shirt make me look fat? She'd be like, yeah. and you know, and not being mean, but like, I know that I can count on her to tell me that stuff.
You're making me think of when you go places like family things and they ask you if their food's good. Now, 99% of the time, it is very good. Right?
Yeah.
But what I was saying is, when you're like me and I'm so, I get in trouble sometimes because I'll be like, man, it just needed, like, you know, like, I feel so bad because I know people like, oh, Lauren, poor Lauren, I do now because of I helped her out. My criticism really helped her become a great cook. But I've always, you know, I'd be like, man, this is really good. It just needs X, you know, like a little more salt or whatever. I don't, you know. Yeah. But you go over places. But when people ask you things, they really want your real opinion, because I tell people that all the time. Like, if you're going to ask for feedback, I have to give you honest feedback, because even if it feels, and I feel this way a lot, like if I'm constantly giving, if you want to consider it negative feedback, you know, you're doing something wrong and trying to correct it. But if I don't do that and you just keep doing the wrong way, you're never going to get better. And I want the same thing for me. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, I need you to tell me.
I want people to tell me.
And you know, a good, you made me think of this, a good test for that, or like if you question whether you're, like if I'm going to question if I'm a person of integrity, the way you could kind of test that is, do I have people in my life or my circle that come to me and just drop some bombs on me?
Yeah.
Or tell me some things like, dude, I just don't need anybody else to know this. And they're telling you, and you're kind of like, whoa, you know, that they told you. I would say that that person believes that you're a person of integrity, or you're authentic. You're going to do what you say you're going to do, and not go gossip about that, you know.
Yep.
And also give the authentic feedback, if you want to call it that, and be transparent with them. So
I'm going to say,
a good test.
I'm going to say that this is a I'm not trying to get on a soapbox or anything, but gossiping is probably one of the worst traits to have ever. That is probably one of the worst things that a person can do.
You know what? And what's bad is to literally, I'm a anti-drama. I get roped in the gossip sometimes. I may not be aware
I
of
get
how
ro-
much.
I get roped in. I'm not trying to say I'm exempt from that. Like I get tossed up in it, and it makes me feel so gross and so nasty. But keep going. Sorry.
Well, that may be something to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like to be self-aware of when I get roped into that, because I think it's easy to do. That's good.
Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't remember what I was talking about.
I'm so sorry.
I think that was really good because you just made me think like,
Yeah.
it's very easy to get in a group of people that are gossiping, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
may not even realize it's really gossip.
Especially like if you feel the same way about someone
Yeah,
and they're talking about them, and I
can just keep going.
you can just feed into that, and I'm guilty of. I'm not, and I started that off like by being like I'm exempt from. I'm not. I do it, and I hate it, and I think, but it just doesn't. It takes away your integrity because the person you're talking to, like even whenever someone's confiding in me about someone else, but I mean it's gossip in a way. Like and there's a difference there's a difference in venting.
Yeah. Okay.
And gossiping.
I
Now,
agree.
do I think like if you're venting to me about somebody, my first thought or my first advice to that person is you need to take this to them. And not like confrontation or
You have to tell them how you feel.
Yeah.
Or how you felt, like if you felt attacked or felt like they were disrespectful or didn't listen or whatever, you got to tell them.
Yeah. Whether or not.
I mean, I'm talking to myself right now. Too,
I know, me too.
And it's what do they say? Everybody's a leader. They say great leaders like immediately discuss or bring to your attention the smallest things, because if you don't, like the drama, like Dave Ramsey says it all the time, he's anti-drama. Just because of what it leads to. It's just not good. It's not healthy.
Nothing
but
good comes from
venting
it.
and drama is completely different.
Yeah.
If you need to vent about something that happened, you're really telling somebody what happened and hoping for some
Advice.
some feedback. Yeah.
I agree. But all of that leads back to being an authentic person. Like I want people to look at me and say, I can drop those bombs on Sawyer. Like I can come to him and, tell him these things, confide in him, and not that he's going to keep secrets from people, but like it's between me and him. He doesn't repeat
He's
it.
not going to be like, hey, did you hear what so-and-so did?
It will not be advertised. It's locked in.
Yeah.
And I love people like that. Those type of people in my life, I very much like. I love talking with them, and it just I feel like I feel safe, talking with them, and so I want to be that person for somebody, and
No doubt.
that's a really good quality.
I think, looking on the other side of that. So if I think you got to be careful with this side of telling people things in a way.
Sure.
Obviously, you're supposed to confess, but you don't want to. I mean, obviously, if you got to trust the person you're confessing to or whatever. But even me, like because of the way I am, like if I tell you something, I trust that you're not gonna go tell somebody or not going to twist it and go or whatever, go spit out some stuff, some rumors.
Yeah.
I think you do have to be wise in that and kind of discern who you're
Talking to,
because what do they say? Wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be careful.
Well, think of Jesus. Like why whenever he was recruiting disciples, why didn't he go to the church? Why didn't he go to the temple? Why did he go to the lake or the sea?
Yeah.
To get fishermen, I mean, I don't know. It's hot.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Just like why wasn't he searching? Why did he go to a tax booth to get a disciple? You know what I mean? Like even the tax booth, someone who lies, steals, and cheats, or from that perspective, and what did Matthew? What qualities did Matthew? And not that God's looking for specific qualities, but like He can turn anything into anything, and I think he
so
could
why
have.
him? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he could have. I say recruit. He could have recruited a Pharisee and totally transformed the way that they think, and I mean he did with Paul.
Yeah.
And it just, but I don't know. It just like Peter had, I think he had really good. Like he was a rough dude. Like he was rough, tough, but I think he was very vocal and very like he said what he thought.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good quality. Like Peter was true to himself. The time whenever Jesus said, well, who do you say I am? And then he said, well, I think you're the Christ. You're the Messiah. And then Jesus was like, well, whatever you bound on earth will be bound in heaven. Peter, you're now named, you're the rock. Just giving him all this praise. And then the next sentence basically is like, he's rebuking him. He's saying, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
and it's just like, but Peter was very vocal about what he thought. He was true to himself. And I think that's a very good quality about a person.
You think that he was telling Peter that specifically, Peter, the human, or is it a everything's a spiritual battle? I just thought of this when you said that, but that's just a good viewpoint. He was. What I'm saying is if we're just talking here and all of a sudden you say something that's crazy or out of the way, and I said, rebuke you, Satan. Am I talking to Sawyer or there's something spiritual there obviously going on. And so I feel like that's where Jesus was going with that. I don't know that. That's literally off the top of my head there.
Yeah. I don't think he was calling Peter Satan necessarily. And I don't think that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
But
no.
I think he,
he's just being.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Proverbs 12:22, it says, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who speak truthfully are his delight. And so that's what we've been talking about. That's in Proverbs. So he just wants you to speak truth.
Yep.
And that goes back to, like you said, that goes to integrity or being authentic when nobody else would know.
Yep.
So
me and Kirsten, that makes me think of this TV show we're watching. It's called Love on the Spectrum, and I've been talking to you about it. And it's about people who are on the autism spectrum dating, and man, it is raw. It is so it's funny. It's like there's times where I gotta like close my eyes because it's real. And the way I explain it is they're expressing all of the emotions that we are shoving down and thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like there was this one episode where this guy and this girl go on a date, and she's like, hey, like, do you like my dress? And he's like, no. And he's just honest. And for us, and I think there's a way to do that. There's obvious but like for us, we're just like, holy smokes, like this guy, but he's being honest. Like he even says it like to the guy who's interviewing him. He's like, I can't lie. I'm sorry. And that's so awesome.
it really is.
Yeah.
Even though that sucks for her in a way.
Sure.
But dude, you gotta be able to accept that.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. Like, I mean, don't ask. And that's what he was just like, well, dang. And he was like, well, don't ask.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a way to, like, I'm not saying just do that, but like, there's such a beauty to it that, like, man, they're real, and they just say what they think, which is awesome. And that's so foreign to us now. And I think it has become so foreign that we'll even lie to people. We won't like you. I think what's even better is to just like keep your mouth shut. But now we like, instead of telling them the truth or just not saying anything at all, we lie to people.
Yeah.
And that's so what? That's crazier than doing what they're doing, in my opinion, or
Yeah.
from the Bible's perspective. You know, why are we lying to people?
Here's, I know this isn't. They're not talking about what dress are you wearing, but Ephesians 4:25. So stop telling lies. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body.
Yeah.
But, and I know they're not talking about dresses, but
Sure.
they're saying not
Yeah.
to lie. And I'm looking back on like just using me and Lauren. I mean, she's put stuff on, clothes and stuff, and I've told her, or like the food, you know, I don't know if it's good or a bad trait. I guess it's good, like you said, not to lie. But I mean, I've always told the truth, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's times where I've fudged it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's a way to do it too. Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you want to be like strategic about it or sneaky,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
and like kind of like passively.
roast sucks.
Yeah. Or like
Yeah, you
passively get your opinion out there or your, you know, what you think is true. But you know, you don't want to lie. Do not lie. That's and I think as long as we have that perspective, like I cannot lie, then you really can't go wrong. And you know, like I said, don't be sneaky. Don't be manipulative or whatever. Insert your word there, but you know, be honest.
yeah, telling the truth in love.
Yeah, love people and be able to. Brian told me this a long time ago. We keep bringing up Brian. We're going to have him on the show. He told me this a long time ago. Like, it's kind of love is a transaction, and this goes for friendships. And like you were saying, you want like, you know, if people drop bombs on you, like that means they trust you. They see you as a person of integrity. You know, that they didn't just arrive at that, you know,
Yeah.
at that point. That you built up their trust with them. So you have to build that up. You have to constantly be giving and being a person that is worthy of being trusted.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just arrive at that moment and then like meet a stranger and then they just tell you the craziest things of their life. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing there. Like, you know, if I'm going to use me and Kirsten as an example. If me and Kirsten if I've been not doing the dishes, I've been, you know, slacking on doing stuff around the house. If I've been mean to Kirsten, being rude to her, passive, not a godly husband. And then one day I tell her, "Hey, that dress doesn't look good on you." Man, she is not going to receive that well.
Yeah.
I promise you. That is going to be really bad. Now, if I'm loving her the way that Christ loves the church, and I'm sacrificially being there for her and talking with her and building that relationship with her, and I tell her like, "Hey, that dress doesn't. I don't think that dress." You know, in a loving way, she's going to receive that so much better.
It's still gonna suck.
Oh yeah,
you know,
sure.
But
she's gonna receive it better, and she's gonna know, hey, he loves me. He means that in a loving way. He's not. This isn't an attack on me. You know what I mean?
some of y'all out there need that in your life, dude.
I do. Yeah, I know. I know.
Golly,
what
I
you
see
mean.
some stuff and I'm like, I just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So living by the Spirit, walking by faith. That was my last little note I just jotted down there.
Yeah.
So authenticity. Again, I'm just going to go back to what I started with was when you get in groups of people that are cutting up or whatever, and maybe not talking about the right things or just good things. Maybe they're being mean, like you said, gossip, talking about somebody. It's just being that person that's going to be authentic and just you're very consistent. That's what I think about is consistency.
Yep.
And like, you know, hey guys, like, you know, you don't know their story or
Yep.
you don't know what's going on, with them, they may be struggling through something or whatever. Like you got to back up and look at it from both sides. We're so quick to judge someone and say, "Oh, they're doing that to me on purpose." You don't know that. Like, dude, like 99% of the time when somebody does something, they're not attacking you. It's just happening.
Yep.
And so we have to try to look at their side and just talk to them. I mean, we see it in the business side all the time, like with people, whatever they want to complain about, price or anything. We may not even have done any service for them yet. They just complaining about something, you know, and you just have to look at it like, well, maybe they had an experience with somebody and that person did this to them. Now they look at all of the service industry people in this viewpoint. They have this viewpoint of us. That's not really us.
Sure.
So we have to look at it from their point of view. Like, okay, well, maybe they've had something happen.
Yeah.
And talk to them,
Yeah. And you got to build their trust.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing to do. And,
Sure.
and that's a whole nother thing. But, like you said, when you in life, as we build our circle of influence, if you want to call it that, those people trust us. And then when somebody asks, "Hey, what about Sawyer?" I'm like, "That's a good dude. You can trust him." Or if I don't want to use you, but if you're,
not a trustworthy
John Doe over here and they're not, they're gonna be like, "Man, look, I think he means well. You just got to be careful because if you tell him something, it's bound to get around." And that, I don't feel like that's gossiping. I think that's telling the truth about that person because you're really telling. If I'm telling you about John Doe, who's going to go gossip when you tell him something, I'm helping you. I'm being authentic
Honest.
and loving to you to tell you that.
Yep.
So there's some fine lines between gossip and vent.
There are.
And I'm glad we brought that up because that's something I want to be aware of because I don't like gossip either. I don't like drama. I love the, just, I know we're going to have struggles and everything, but I just like to try to be filled with joy because we never know when it's our last day.
Yep.
Or somebody that you're around. I mean, you just never know. So just trying to live joyfully and live by the Spirit, literally.
Yep. That's good. Man, I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
I love, and it steps on my toes a lot because I want to, my word for this year is integrity. I want to be a person of integrity. And the reason that's my word is because I struggle with that. My yes isn't always my yes and my no isn't always my no. And so I want to work on that. And, I challenge everybody to do that too.
Yeah.
It's a good, not, and don't do it just because it feels good, but man, it feels good to, if I tell somebody, "Hey, today after work, I'm going to come by and mow your yard," or "I'm going to come by and, do this blank, blank, blank for you." And then you go to work and you're tired after a very long day. And you know how it is. You have a long day and it wears you down. And the last thing you want to do is get home and then go back to work somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But when you do it and you get done and you're like, "I stuck to my word," man, that feels good.
Yeah. That's really good. You got to be careful how many yeses you give out because you literally, sometimes you just can't do it all.
Yep. And that goes back to what Brian said, like, you got to be careful about what you say yes to, and just be aware. Not saying it's a bad thing to, too much of anything is a bad thing or can be a bad thing. And so just be aware of your limits and be like Jesus and retreat sometimes. Like go spend some time with yourself. Go be alone.
I like that question. When's the last time you spent 60 minutes with no music, no nothing? Like go sit in a chair in the middle of the woods, or if you don't have that, go sit on the porch and just sit there and just think.
Yep.
Like 60 minutes of that. I don't think I've had that maybe ever.
Yeah.
I don't know of a pure 60 minutes. So that's a good thing. That's your challenge for the week. 60 minutes with nothing.
I like it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I enjoyed that.
Ditto.
Good conversations. Sparked some things there to work on and think about. Thank y'all for joining in. We appreciate y'all tuning in and the feedback that we get. It's amazing to hear the people and just the love that we get. We're really thankful for that. So we hope y'all join us next time, and come on.
Awesome. Love y'all.
Love y'all.